Jupiter rushing through Aries. It's going to spend a few days in Aries 14. A serpent coiling near a man and a woman. So this is all about tuning into rhythms of natural energy, not being enslaved by passion and need. The recognition of the sacredness in relationship. An awareness of the highest aspects of life and how they depend upon embracing the lowest. Aries 14, a serpent coiling near a man and a woman, making relationships sacred. We get drawn into relationship by sexual desire and emotional need to learn how to internalize polarity. Rebellious immaturity is only to be dealt with when we master polarity inwardly, rather than by seeking another person to make up for our lack of wisdom and emotional poise. Facing relationship in sacredness is the key. Big topic. There's a lot of wisdom, I think, in astrology around this question of relationship, not the least of which is to identify the descendant, both with the one-to-one relationship, which is normally the marriage partner, or at least somebody with whom you're sharing something so significant in your life that the separation would be a rupture. So it's not sexual games, it's not love affairs, it's something where you're together in this. So even if you've got a long-term partner who you don't live with, it's not quite the same as a one-to-one relationship, which kind of nowadays implies living together. And associating that, the descendant, with also the shadow. The ascendant is how you project light into the world, and the descendant is what you don't see, the shadow of this. So to align those two things, the one-to-one relationship and shadow, is very meaningful, and it suggests that how we get involved with another person on this profound me and you kind of level is how we access our shadow side. Now, this is not all about living happily ever after. It's not all about dumping your needs onto your partner and having them dumping theirs onto you. That's not really what it's about, although that's what it turns into in most cases. The vast majority of relationships are based on a lie. And, in very simple terms, till death us do part, the marriage vows, it's a lie. The idea that one person can fulfill all of your emotional needs, which is not really subject to negotiation. A man cannot go out and have his free time, let alone with another woman, and a woman cannot go out and have her free time, especially not with another man, and hold the bond of this one-to-one relationship together. The assumption is that you ought to be happy with your partner. That ought to be enough. And it just is a lie. It will never be enough. The assumption that we can actually settle into a one-to-one relationship and be fully ourselves is very challenging. Theoretically, that should be possible. Theoretically, the partner should enhance the sense of self-development and personal evolution. And it could, if it's dealt with consciousness, with spiritual awareness. And if we turn relationship into that level of spirituality, so it's the highest spiritual expression of your life, as well as the committed day-to-day personal affairs kind of level of relationship. If you've got both of those things going on, then it's possible. And it kind of means that you have to treat each other with a higher level of respect and consideration than you have normally for other people. In other words, you're not taking each other for granted. You're very, very aware of each other. And this is not done. in times not very long ago, the husband and wife would address each other by their title. Mrs. Smith, Mr. Smith, they talk to each other like that. They wouldn't use each other's Christian names to address each other, in some circles anyway. And that sounds ridiculous to us today, but it does actually underline the point of respect and formality and the difference that exists between thou and I. We're different. We're not one being. We're not even unified. We're simply close. That's not the same thing. And I think that what we have here with the serpent image is very profoundly indicative of what goes wrong when people do not approach relationship in a spiritual way. The serpent is the Kundalini. And the serpent in this particular image is on its belly. This is the Adam and Eve story, where the rising of the Kundalini could not occur if there was degradation in the relationship, if there was dishonor, if there was somebody who said, the story goes that they took the apple when they were forbidden. So that sense of dishonoring an agreement leads to degradation, and this brings the Kundalini, which is the linkage between heaven and earth, down to the earth. It can't link anymore. The serpent energy is no longer directed towards our prayerful self, but towards our worldly self, and it creates a distortion of the energy. And the energy in the lower chakras then get blocked. All of the three lower chakras cannot express themselves fully, because an aspect of what they need to do is to reach up. And so we have people who are lost in materiality, who are lost in ego, who get involved in anxiety and fear of life itself, and live a life of fear and anxiety and distortion and lies, basically. And this is all indicated by the serpent on its belly. And the suggestion here is that a very profound way to rectify this problem is to make sex especially prayerful, and relationship, which is a fuller expression of the sexual act, into life circumstances. You're always either celebrating the last or looking forward to the next union. So if we take the whole of our lives, our relational lives, to be an expression of sacredness in sex, then we can have an attempt to raise the Kundalini. Now, certain spiritual practices also do this, the breathing practice that I think I've referred to before, where you just breathe in and breathe out with awareness. And there are versions of that when you visualize spirals and so on. This is the more subtle and advanced Sufi practices. Then you can actually start to clean out the pipes, as it were, to just bring attention once again to this, the flow of the Pinga and the Ida energies that Hindu teaching has us understand as the sort of the caduceus image, the healing sign on a pharmacy is a caduceus, that sword with the spirals on it. That's meant to be the Kundalini. And any indication that we have here that we need the Kundalini to be raised is inherent within that caduceus symbol. Healing, in other words, has to do with stopping the serpent from being flat on its belly and raising it. In other words, stop thinking only about the material world and start to think about God. And to do that as a daily practice, as a normal way of life. That's the fundamental issue here. It's just that the worst distortion of that tends to be in sex. It's not the only distortion. And we're discussing here what will happen if you raise the difference between your masculine and feminine sides to the highest level of comprehension, and you celebrate that, It's a daily practice. You celebrate relationship as a daily spiritual practice rather than a convenience. And the way in which we manage to do that is to decrease the amount of stress we have in life. It is stress that gives rise to the degradation of relationship largely, one way or another. It might be passed down, stress from the parents to our generation. But it might be that you just got too much of a priority for work. And you want things rather more than you want relationship. And you spend too much time at the office and not enough with your kids. It could easily be on that level. Really, if you want to break through to the highest level of joy, then you need to prioritize spiritual practice and to allow all the rest of your life, bits and pieces, to serve that. And then the proper channels will be opened again if you do it right.